Need to be. I as an adult, I'm 46. I'm the perfect example.
Hi, Miss.
Hi, how are you, Kanan? How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I am perfectly fine.
Okay. Happy to see you. Nice meeting you.
Same here, same here.
Thanks. Where are you based? US, I thought? US?
Yes,
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And you are in
Based Belgium, Europe.
Belgium.
So we are very strategic today. You, that part of the world, I'm in the middle, and then we have the other part. Yes.
Exactly.
For the moment now, I'm you're in the west, I'm in the middle, and India is east.
Right.
So,
What do you do, Dimitri?
excuse me? Oh, first of all, I represent Belgium in the World Business Angels Forum as a for Belgium. Second, I'm board community member of the Asia CEO group.
Oh, okay.
Yes, third, I'm Minister of Defense in the GU, an international global organization.
Oh,
And
nice.
from that, I'm author, best-selling author, and specialize in the digitalization and digital marketing, of course. The future.
I am impressed.
Yes, thank you, my dear. Thank you.
I'm impressed. Hello, Harkesh.
Hello,
Harkesh, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How are you doing?
Grace, India. How are you doing, Mr. Harkesh?
Good.
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you, Mr. Harkesh.
And what time is it in Belgium?
Here, India is 3 hours 30 later than here in Europe. So here it's exactly like you said, 5:30.
It's not too bad.
Yes, 3 hours and 30 minutes difference. It's not so much difference.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. How are you?
Rishabh, how are you?
I'm absolutely fine. Hello, Mr. Dimitri. How are you?
Hi, sir. I'm very fine. And what about you, Mr. Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in India?
Absolutely fine.
Great to connect. And you see that the world is global, and with the digitalization, it's no problem to have a very comfortable talking. We don't even have to take a plane to come and visit you. So we separate from that. We have more time for other things. So yes, according to Mr. COVID, this is the positivity of Mr. COVID, you know. This is the positivity that I don't have to take a plane to come and meet you, and the same as you, because we have the very easy access to meet in a digital way.
नमस्ते मित्तल सर, कैसे हैं आप?
बस बढ़िया, आप सुनाइए. Mr. Takkar has also joined, I believe.
सर भी आ गए हैं.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Takkar.
How are you?
Fine.
Good evening.
It's morning here.
Morning. Good
Yeah,
morning.
no doubt.
Morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Don't forget your Starbucks coffee, Miss.
Very good evening. How are you? How's everyone?
Who there?
Mr.
पैनलिस्ट, हम लोग सेशन को 5 मिनट में स्टार्ट करते हैं. We'll start this session in next 5 minutes. So the panelists must join this session. So afterward we'll start it.
Very good evening. How are you?
Where are you based in India, Mr. Chairman? The Chamber of Commerce, is it New Delhi?
Delhi.
Or Mumbai?
Delhi.
New Delhi. Okay, I see. I never have been in India, but I know India geographic a little bit. But I wish to come over after Mr. COVID. Let us hope to meet each other in India, or you in Belgium.
Sure.
Govind.
One of
Hi, Bishop Ji. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Govind.
Govind,
How are you
hi.
doing? How are you
Fine,
doing?
absolutely.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. How is the situation in India with Mr. COVID now?
Oh, still tough. Cases are still increasing. And we haven't yet reached our peak. That's the problem.
Good evening, Mr. Vaibhav. How are you, sir?
Very good, sir. How are you?
Very well.
Hello.
Bye-bye.
Kishor ji, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes. Good evening. How are you?
Fine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening, all panelists.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Hello. Good morning.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Rabindra.
So I'll give a quick introduction of all the panelists on the start.
Yeah.
And I would request you, panelists, to introduce yourself to the viewers. Also,
Okay.
know better about you. So one of panelists is Mr. Dimitri. He's a visionary leader, consultant, bestseller author, mentor, and currently serving to international partners for World Business Angel Investor Forum. So, we welcome you, Mr. Dimitri. Thank you so much for your participation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For some ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon or good morning. I'm very honored and very delighted to be your international panelist today at the Chamber of Commerce in India, which is great because India today it's very development in startups and education and so many different areas and sectors. It is a very global, very strong country, and which have a lot of things to present. And I'm very honored that today I'm one of your international speakers and panelists in this great webinar. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good evening.
I would request you to kindly share a little bit information about you so that panelists will come to know about.
Yes, excuse me, I forgot to say that. First of all, I'm best-selling author of my international bestseller story. Second, I representative Belgium in the World Business Angel Forum. Third, I'm a Minister of Defense of the International Global Organization, GU. Fourth, I am a member of the Asian CEO community. And five, I'm specialized in the digital marketing and of course in the digitalization. If anybody have questions, I'm ready for your answers. Thank you. Namaste, India. Namaste.
Namaste.
Mishra, we request you to kindly share a few details about you.
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. And This is Kanan from USA. I am I'm a teacher by profession. I run my own business with a tutoring company, and I specialize in working with the students with learning disabilities. And I'm very passionate about it. And I'm a founder of a big organization, Mumbaikar. We have over 500 people in this group. I'm a president of Women Empowerment Group, so always believe in women empowerment. And we do a lot of things. And that's it. I don't want to tell much about me.
Mittal sir, I would request you to kindly share your introduction to the viewers as well as to the panelists. Mittal sir?
Yeah, okay, sorry, I didn't hear my name.
Please.
Okay, first of all, namaste.
Namaste.
The second thing is today in India, we have Teachers' Day, and we are talking
Yes.
about mentors today. So
Correct.
first of all, very happy Teachers' Day. I see all of you are
Everyone.
so you're a teacher yourself in a way. So this is a special day for all of us. Greetings on the Teachers' Day. Well, as regards myself, I'm little hesitant to talk about myself because I see the rich panel which you have, and I'm just a failed entrepreneur who never started. I'll tell you that story when I come to it. But I have been a government servant throughout my life. Just retired few days ago on 31st of August. I used to head this board called the National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Development Board. I've headed this board for about 20 years, have helped set up about 150 technology business incubators, etc. That's the work which I have done. And that's all. Little late. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Narayan ji, visionary leader, one of the based on Punjabi. I request you to please share a few words about you.
Hi, good morning, good evening, everyone. Happy Teachers' Day to all of you. My name is Rabindra Narayan, and I head a network of television channels in Punjabi language called PTC Network. 20 years ago, we started the first ever Punjabi television channel. And since then, the team has built on, and now we have channels all across the world, wherever, whichever country you go to, we're broadcasting there. The main thing, the main base of ours is the live telecast of Gurbani from the Golden Temple, which we do every day, 365 days a year. Then we produce a lot of shows, we do a lot of events. We have a record label where we record artists and release their songs. We have a movie production house. We are also the world's only company which produces a digital movie every week. Every week we produce an original Punjabi language digital film. We also release music. So we did about 200 original songs last year. This year we plan to release about 400 songs. We have an app called PTC Play. And wherever, it is said that potatoes and Punjabis are everywhere in the world. So that's why we are everywhere in the world. We are also the only Indian media company which has a studio in USA and in Canada with productions happening there. Most of the channels which we are running in whichever countries, we have a bureau there where we do a lot of production, we produce news, we have a news channel, we have 3 music channels, we have an entertainment channel, and so on and so forth. We have a sports channel, we have a movies channel, you name it, but all in Punjabi language. Our mission has been to promote Punjabiyat all over the world. So in a way, the team which has created PTC Network has actually founded the Punjabi satellite television in the world. Thank you.
Well done.
40 years of long experience in banking industry. I wish if you can share a few words about you, sir. Takkar sir, can you hear me?
Oh.
Yes.
Sorry, I think there was some disruption. Good evening, everybody, and good morning to people from USA. Happy Teachers' Day. And as far as my introduction goes, I retired as MD and CEO of UCO Bank about 1.5 years back in November 18. After that, I started a legal firm. I'm a partner in R&R Associates, basically as an advisory and consultancy relating to banking. So that's what keeps me busy. And also I take a lot of interest in the MSMEs. That's my area of, I would say, concern also, especially after this COVID situation, and especially the entrepreneurs who are struggling hard. So that's what it is. So I'm sure with such a rich panel, today we would have a very good discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kharat sir, good evening.
Good evening.
Kharat sir, with 41 years of huge experience in banking industry, he was MD for Indian Bank as well as IDBI. Sir, I would request if you can share a few words about you.
Thank you. Good morning to our US participants and good evening to all my panelists here. I am an ex-banker. I spent 41 years in the banking. I worked in 4 banks. My career bank was Bank of Baroda, and then I moved to Union Bank of India as executive director. From there, I was moved to IDBI Bank as a MD and CEO, and my last posting was MD and CEO of Indian Bank. I retired from Indian Bank in August 2018. And thereafter, I have started my own advisory firm, and I have been advising to a lot of corporate clients, including a lot of MSME lot. I am also advisor on the National Advisory Board of Bharti Yuva Shakti Trust, who are actually basically in the mentoring business for the small businessman. So I derive a lot of joy by actually being associated with those firms which are creating entrepreneurship in India. I think that's my brief introduction. Thank you so much.
Govind ji, good evening.
Namaste.
Namaste.
I'm Govind Shrikhande. Good morning to people from US, and good afternoon and good evening to everyone else. I'm a textile technologist originally. Then I did my MBA and have been in the textile and retail for the last 34 years. Last I was in Shoppers Stop for 18 years, where I stepped down as managing director in 2018. And now I work as a mentor to a lot of startups and retail companies. And I'm very happy to join this forum where I believe a lot of entrepreneurs could also join in. Thank you.
Vaibhav ji, good evening.
Very good evening to everybody. And first, before I start, I mean, I'm very thankful to Rishabh who made me sit between this kind of senior panel. I'm probably the youngest of all, but briefly about myself, I'm an ex-banker. I'm an ex-banker, and currently for the last 2.5 years back, I started my own fintech firm based in Bombay, and about 6 months back started another company with a friend of mine based in New York. So I run 2 fintech companies. The businesses which businesses which we serve are NFTs, payday loans, and few other technology products which we are developing with both these companies. I also sit on the board of a company called Cashbean, which has constantly become one of the largest payday loan or micro loan company in the country. Massive scale. There we do close to about 1 lakh loans every day, pre-March levels, which makes it more than the next 3-4 competitors. So that's briefly about myself. Yeah, I don't have much to say, honestly speaking. Such senior people, and thank you, Rishabh, for including me in the panel.
Aditya ji, good evening.
A very good evening.
Aditya ji, I request if you can share a few words about you.
Sure. It's a great pleasure to be here. I am a co-promoter of the APJ Satya and Silvaran Group. In India, particularly, we are known for three different business verticals. Our pharmaceutical vertical, which we fight for being with Bombay Chemicals, I think, as the oldest pharma company in India. If you have grown up in India, you have been our customer one way or the other. About 3 out of 5 doctors prescribe our products all across the country. And we, of course, are US FDA, so we do export across the world. On the education vertical, which is our more consumer facing, which is the APJ schools and colleges. We run 13 schools, 16 colleges, and the APJ Satya University. We have something, I think last count was about 45,000 students, about 65,000 alumni all across. And we are going into the real estate and development, or at least we were until COVID-19 hit. And the plan was to build out about 25 to 30 million of square feet of commercial space across the country. But I think that may be on pause for a while. I'm also the chairman of CII the Delhi State this year, and a couple of other things. But in the interest of time, let's just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Gulati ji, good evening.
Very good evening, Rishabh ji. And good evening to all the panelists who are joining from India, and good morning to people who are joining from US.
Gulati ji, I request if you can share a few words about you.
Yeah, sure. I'm heading the academic and administrative affairs of one of the educational institutions in Kolkata called Technology Education and Research Integrated Institutions. We started our journey in 2007, and in a short span of 13 years. When I say short span, I believe that the journey of education institutions are for years and years, for decades and centuries. The short span we could associate ourselves with all 23 IITs in the country. I am Bangalore, few of the universities in US as well as Malaysia. Recently, we established Technology Business Incubator with Ministry of MSME, Government of India. And we are trying to impart quality education to the youth of the country as well as neighboring students from SAARC countries. Like as on date, we have students from 23, 24 states in the country, and majority of all the SAARC countries as well. So this is a brief, and then we can discuss certain other points as the discussion goes on.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Arshi ji. How are you? Hello, Arshi ji, can you hear me?
Hello, hi Rishabh. I'm good. What about you? Very good evening.
Evening. Arshi ji, I request if you can few words about you to the panelists and the viewers.
Thank you so much. My name is Arshi Ayub Mohamed. I head the Trust with Trade organization in the UAE, and I'm also a senior advisor to Royal Family Offices in the UAE. Very, very happy to be here and interact with all the panelists, because I think the common agenda is to discuss various ways of education, mentoring, and how we can really look forward to sort of create a win-win for everybody involved. And I'm really looking forward to interact with the panelists and having a great session. Thank you very much.
So, panelists, if you'll allow me, we can start the session.
Yes, please.
Can I just interrupt for a minute? As in, you're the host. So if it is possible, can you mute everybody else except the panelists? There are a lot of people whose mics are on, and it gets very disturbing.
And yeah, I'm already doing that. But some new people are joining, so there is an issue with those people only. So Thank you. I'd like to ask you only the first question. So I just wanted to know about like UAE government and the international student, how they are correlating with each other. They are supporting to the international students.
I think, thank you so much, Rishabh. The UAE is a host country, and whether the Emirates of Dubai or Abu Dhabi, we have an expatriate population of 3.2 million people and more than 200 nationalities that live over here. That means there are so many children from so many different nationalities that happen to study over here and are part of the education system. The idea over here in terms of education is to provide world-class infrastructure and learning methods to everybody involved, whether they are citizens, residents, or anybody who is looking to be a part of any exchange programs. I think I'll be specific to a lot of universities we have locally over here, whether it's American University or Sharjah University, Ajman, Khalifa University for Technology, NYU. We have also plenty of centers of excellence and applied research and training that exist in this part of the world for every student from across the world. And the efforts of the UAE government is to foster innovation and entrepreneurship from a very young age itself. And that's what they promote in a sense in terms of international students. I think the idea has been, in terms of the pandemic, I think the globally education has really seen huge change during the pandemic. And the UAE government has supported so many international students that are studying over here by activating virtual learning for nearly 1.2 million students from various schools and universities. They have invested in training 25,000 school teachers and administrators via the Ministry of Education. They have launched an educational support system for the children of healthcare staff in Khalifa Medical University via Department of Education and Knowledge. I think the fact that the government has for orphan students in terms of remote learning in other parts of the Northern Emirates. Also, there is a very interesting initiative called the Himatak Initiative for School Students, which includes remote interactive activities by the Georgia Education Council. So there have been plenty of efforts in terms of providing the right infrastructure to international students so that at the end of the day, the idea is that they foster skills, skills of the future by teaching them something that is relevant today. Thank you so much.
Your Honesty.
How do you see potential as education industry?
Definitely, I think there is always room for much more and more universities to integrate and begin activities in this part of the world. We have schools and colleges specific to aerospace. We have specific to oil and energy background. So definitely there is much scope for universities to come and start integrating, because this is one place that is the merger of the East and the West. So definitely the student base is also extremely diverse, which gives a good opportunity for anybody to sort of integrate. Teaching for everybody is very different. So the fact that they get to have such a huge diaspora of nationalities that come to study, and children from various backgrounds, it's very important to have the right kind of infrastructure and the right kind of teachers, very importantly, the learning platforms and the government regulation that is adequately supporting it. So I think in the UAE, we have the Ministry of Education, Department of Knowledge, we have the government bodies in Abu Dhabi, in each emirate separately, that are supporting this in complete capacity. So there is huge potential in the times to come for maximum programs, universities, knowledge institutes, research institutes to come forward and begin operations in the UAE, because this is where the relevant of and skills of the future are being built.
Shukran, Your Honesty. I have a few questions about it. Can you hear me?
Yes, we are.
I totally agree that you're supporting all the top universities in the Emirates and Dubai, which is great, which is wonderful, of course, and very good universities, by the way. But I had a question about what of the access, because the whole world, we are infected now by Mr. COVID. And you know very well, as me, all of us, that there are a class of civilization, a lot of youngsters who doesn't have the access for scholarships or a sponsorship to have the opportunity to study at all these top universities. Could you give us an answer how your top universities in the Emirates are taking responsibility and action in this way? Because I want to remark you, for the moment today, we have in Belgium 20,000 students who doesn't have access to the internet, who doesn't even have a laptop, who doesn't have the money to buy a laptop. Can you imagine? And now they need to learn from distance because of a lockdown. And I'm not only talking about Belgium, but even in the US today, you have 1 million students who doesn't even have a laptop. So it's very wonderful, great in harmony that you support Bahrain and Dubai and the Emirates, like it's utopia, the way you talk. But I would like to have an answer and a question on this, please. I'm sorry for my question. I'm curious.
No problem, and thank you so much for the question. Like I mentioned, during the pandemic itself, the government has donated more than 600 computers to orphan children for remote learning programs, whether it's from the police or from the Empowerment Foundation. There have been initiatives to sort of ensure, whether it's from the Red Crescent or whether it's from the ministry, in terms of building that infrastructure, like I mentioned, because like you very rightfully said, not everybody has that access, not everybody has that benefit. But in terms of providing computers, laptops, support programs, incentives, or creating virtual free applications for the students to sort of align, and for parent training as well, because most parents also are not very well versed with teaching methods, online teaching methods. Parents are learning during the pandemic itself.
Yeah.
So definitely the government is doing in terms of donating the correct infrastructure for students to learn. But we do know that in the times to come, there will be relevance to digital learning, because not just during or after the pandemic, there are certain methods that need to be adopted long term. And of course, the efforts of the government have been aligned correctly. We will be in the times to come having more and more programs that are digitally available for students and for parents to interact, more and more forums, which are being all facilitated by the government themselves. Also, the private, whether they are schools or universities, they have several scholarship programs for students locally, and also for international students who are looking to be a part of this entire culture and have this merger of so many nationalities coming forward. Because living and studying with so many other nationalities is a learning experience in itself. That is one thing. And then there is also the thing that they are supporting in terms of the skills of the future. So there are several scholarships that are available online, and there are also plenty of them available in terms of barter exchanges, which the government is facilitating, and also the private organizations, whether it's from the Sheikh Khalifa Medical City, or whether it's from NYU, or whether it's from Sorbonne. Every university is giving their own scholarship availability, and it's open to international students completely.
Your Excellency. And we all both know that the future is digital, that now, according to, thanks to Mr. COVID, that it's, the evolution is going faster than the evolution of a human being, the transformation. And I, as an adult, I think I'm a perfect example of that, that it is working. So the people who are saying today that digital education is not the future, they are wrong. It is not a hype, it is not overhyped, because I started first 2 years ago with Google. Thanks to Google, that Google gave me the opportunity to train me very well from online education. Not only Google, two top schools in Belgium, like Sauvet Business School and the Vlerik Business School, offered me the opportunity, thanks to Mr. COVID again, to train me from distance very well, educate me very well, and I don't even have to pay for this scholarship, because the sponsors, the companies, they paid for to give this opportunity. And I love that more countries will follow with this concept, giving a chance and opportunity from distance learning digital. And the people who say today that the people who study like me from distance online education, who say that doesn't have practice, they are totally wrong, because we have today artificial intelligence, we have today the VR and the AR and all this technology implementations. So this is the future. Online education is working perfect, and I'm a perfect example of that as an adult, by the way, as an age from 46 years. And it's giving us the great opportunity that I have more time for other things, because in the past I started with a postgraduate in Belgium in January, going to Ghent. I need to have time to take a train and all this kind of things. So when I finished my course, it was midnight when I arrived. But then 11 March, Mr. COVID started, and then everything was from distance. So I had more time to do other things. So it's wonderful. And that's the same with the digitalization. If you order something today by e-commerce, a drone will soon deliver it, and you have more time for other things. So it's working perfect. Online education is the future. And it's good for all of us, because we learn faster. Learning is very important. Education is very important. I will even learn until I die. We need to be up to date, and we have the positivity with online education that we learn more faster, and we have more time to spend with our family, with our children, or to do other things. So it's wonderful. This is the future.
Definitely. It's very rightfully said that this is something that irrespective COVID or no COVID, there are certain things that need to be implemented long term that are more sustainable, and digital format of education and imparting education through technology, virtual reality, artificial intelligence is something that the government of the UAE is looking full-fledgedly in terms of sustainable solutions. And of course, the idea is to train students and parents simultaneously, because again, this is a new experience also for the parents, like I said, and they need to be well versed with different formats so that students tomorrow don't have a lot of issues. So I think simultaneously it needs to be communicated to both parents and students in my advice.
So Dimitri, I mean, I just want to add a little bit of nuance to that, and perhaps I can share the experience from staying up for 2 months trying to get about 40,000 students online. When the lockdown happened for us in March, we had already a little bit over invested at the back end. We were the first people in the country to actually go in the cloud back in 2008. When most people hadn't even heard of what the cloud was. That held us well. But I can tell you, when we are facing it still today, getting 40,000 students completely online, we had them day 3, we had been using Zoom for 4 years. It has been an absolute logistical and implementation nightmare. And if anybody else says that, oh, it was so easy, they're lying. It's tremendously difficult, and I want to a little bit share. There's a big difference between virtual education and online education, and I think what schools and colleges that we have been doing is virtual education, recreating the classroom experience, live teacher, just as you were going into a period, versus online education, which is a digitalization of what we had was what we used to call distance education. But I do want to be mindful of, sharing that it's not easier, it's harder. The resources that are required to make this possible, the kind of investments that have to be made, both in terms of those who are giving it. But I feel for our students, many of our households all across India and who we are supporting are one computer households. They are one device households. Suddenly they have to buy another device, which is a considerable expense, especially as you have an economic crisis. For students, particularly who are under the age of 9 or 10, they still need supervision at home. For those who are not living in joint families, you have to have one breadwinner give up their a job essentially, because they have to sit with their kids and make sure they go through these online classes. We have pictures of our teachers who they're taking online classes, but at the same time making sure lunch is on the table for the rest of the family. We mailed out a whole bunch of devices to them. The internet is there, and also, while I agree digital education is the future, I think for me what COVID-19 did was it ran the world's largest pilot on digital education. And people who would have never thought of learning online or weren't comfortable, and quite frankly, from our perspective, faculty and teachers who would have never thought about learning online. I mean, all of us went from a place where you had senior faculty and staff who needed 2 assistants to get their Zoom call working, now suddenly can do it from their homes, right? We have gone to staff, okay, online learning is nice and fine, and I'll send out a PDF document for recording video lectures. So for me, the real transformation that's going to take place is that over about 6 to 7 months, we have done what we've been struggling for 10 to 20 years, is just give everybody, here's a worldwide pilot, lots of key learnings from it. And as Zaveri said, we will be taking those forward. And I really hope we all here, both in our companies and in our education systems, do take that forward. But what I'm excited about much more than just the classic online is now the acceptability of blended learning. And I'm far more excited, not from the student's perspective, but from the teacher and the faculty. If you had gone into any institution across the world and said a year ago that, hey, all of you here will be conducting online classes, can you do it? No, right? And I think that is a massive transformation, but it's still going to be horribly hard. It's still going to take a lot of work. And hopefully, as you put it, Mr. COVID will leave us alone in 3 to 6 months. But I truly hope that, you know, we take those lessons, because education will and can become better thanks to that.
I have a slightly different take on it. When it comes to the education, COVID actually is not the ideal situation, or the digital way of education only is not the ideal situation, especially for preschool or nursery or little kids. Their entire personality was shaped by interacting with their teachers, learning, and even in advanced mentorship, the entire mentorship and the teaching depends on identifying the skills of a particular student and then mentoring him as per that. Whereas on online, you're giving a generalized lecture, generalized training, and the other part of it is the economics of it. Most of the underprivileged people cannot even access the online education. It's expensive. They don't have laptops. They don't have internet. They don't have all those facilities which were earlier subsidized.
They don't have an extra room.
They don't.
They're home. That was the biggest thing we realized.
So for their sake, I wish this situation changes soon. We are back into classrooms. The teachers and the mentors are interacting with their students and interns and trainees and teaching them in a better way. For me, I see a mentor or a teacher like a sculptor. The person has to hold the stone in the hand and judge whether I cut this stone to make a pillar in a large hall, or whether I sculpt an idol of a god which will be placed in a temple which can change the lives of the millions. So unless I see the stone in my hands and judge what character the stone has, I'm just making slabs after slabs after slabs.
I would like to add something.
Yes.
Please, ma'am, go ahead.
Online learning, virtual learning it's good for most of the kids, but not all, especially the kids with learning disabilities. They have a very hard time learning virtually, especially because they cannot focus. Some kids have a dyslexia, some have ADHD. So it's really difficult for those kids. And then in USA, the government is asking that they should go back to the school, where the parents are worried to send their kids back to the school because of, like Mr. Dimitri said, Mr. COVID. You are the one who is giving so much importance to that. I like it. So it is, me being a teacher, I am seeing that those kids who are with a special learning disability or disorder, it's extremely hard. And every day they lose on education, they are almost 2 or 3 months behind. And if this COVID continues for a long time, they will be way far behind, and it will be hard for them to catch back. And the teachers, when they meet them in class, they are able to nurture them, train them, they can hold their hand and help them. But when it's virtual learning, it's extremely difficult for the younger kids, and especially the kids who with the learning disabilities. So I do wish this COVID goes away, everything goes back to the normal, and the kids gets the education they need, because this is a formative year for the younger kids. So losing these years are extremely challenging for both parents and the students. So I am kind of little bit heartbroken, because these are the kids I have trained. I have gone to their school, talked to the counselors, understood those kids, what their needs are, and changed my teaching plans for them so they can get benefit. But virtual learning is not for everyone, especially the kids with the learning disabilities.
I think I have mentioned that before in my talks already, when I was giving my speeches a few minutes ago. And Mr. Rabindra, I agree with you, and I understand very well what you said, because it was a bit according to what I said before. But to remind you, to point you on the point of view that you said about making a sculpture from distance, it is working perfectly. Why? But as your other colleague said, you need to have the right infrastructure for that, the right technology, and the right investment, of course, which is costly. So that's what I confirm again to what I said before. Big companies need to make and stand up making more responsibility to work together with schools, with sponsorships that, like the university you were talking about, that they could have more budgets to implement this digital technology. And what I want to remark to Mr. Rabindra about making a sculpture from distance, it is working perfect if you have, of course, in harmony, the right programs and technology for that. And again, I'm a perfect proof of that as an adult, that it is working perfect, because it's not like you said that the teacher doesn't give the lesson and the next day you forgot it. No, because the next day you have your modulus, you can repeat it again. If you have any questions to your teacher, to your professor, you ask him online, he answers. So there is no different, like you think that there is no interaction. No, there is more interaction in a faster way. I just want to...
Dimitri, that is something which I also wanted to a little bit push back on. You know, one of the most amazing side effects that we've seen of COVID-19 is the sheer access that our students now have to a lot of international people who would just not make the trip to India. And when we're talking about mentorships and one-on-one talks, we are really able to open it out. I share everybody, and I had raised that it is very difficult to do the online thing. The point I was making more was not that you can't do it. It's that the resources required to do it, in fact, goes higher and higher and higher, because you have to have a degree of interaction that is so much more than in a physical classroom. So, for example, you know, a teacher could easily manage maybe 25, 30, even 50 kids in a classroom and very quickly understand what's happening and try to personalize that education. But that doesn't translate well. I mean, you can't do a 30, 40 people Zoom call very well. That means you need smaller, as you had said, you know, smaller tutorials, one-on-one. But our system and infrastructure, even from a mentorship perspective, one, you get access to a global list of people, but on the other hand, you need so many more of them. And you're seeing that in the US, you're seeing that in Europe when they had to do it. They're averaging that if we have to continue a purely virtual learning environment, which I really hope we don't have to do from March next year onwards, we are going to require 3x, 4x the number of teaching resources just to be able to make sure, as Kananji said, that we don't lose formative years. And certainly, I think for you know, lower class students who are in, you know, grade 5 and below, I don't think it's sustainable. I think at some point, I'm just glad that we see an end to this COVID-19 and that it's not going to stay with us forever. But it's a struggle.
Yeah. I also agree with what Mr. Rabindra and Mr. Aditya have been saying. See, there are two things: the resources, and the second, exactly how a child develops. For a child, I think an interaction, having a physical contact, for him, the teacher is the first mentor in his life. Unless they are interacting, they are face to face. I think this online or virtual learning is good, can be good, but it cannot be a substitute for that. This is only a COVID situation. I don't know, it may take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, we don't know. Although online digital would be there, it will come out in a big way. But as far as the schooling level is concerned, I would still feel the physical way of education, the physical interaction, the way we are teaching, I think that has to be there for a child's proper development. As Madam Shah also said, he mentors a teacher like a sculptor. He is going to mold the child, and that's what is required. I think that would still remain.
It gets more complicated when you move toward technical education, where you have to physically do things. Like in media, you have to handle cameras, you have to edit stories, or in an engineering class, you have to see how the steel pipe is molded or cut, or all these. You cannot do them online at all.
Yeah, I said before, there is already solutions for that. They use the AR and the VR technology for that. So there are solutions for that, but we know today it's costly, this solution, this technology. And I want to come back to our colleague. now I'm going to talk about risk management. What if you're going to do if the next black swan is coming? What if, for example, if Mr. COVID will not end? You don't have another solution. You must implement this technology and this digital transformation. Because if the next black swan is coming, if Mr. COVID is not going to end, then you have really going to have a problem.
Yeah, but VR is highly expensive. See, I'll tell you, I'll give an example. We are the only company in India which is doing virtual reality 360-degree live telecast every day from the Golden Temple, Gurbani. The bandwidth needed, the cameras needed, the cost involved runs into lakhs every month. And it's very, very expensive. When you turn it into education and all that, it is highly expensive. And India, I think, is still 2 to 3 years away from going in VR technology for education.
I think I'll just add some, it's been a very interesting debate, but somehow what I fail to understand is that why is there a debate of online or not online? Why can't they coexist? The idea is that, of course, we learn from the goods and the bads of every situation. The corona situation has taught us that we have to adapt to digitized methods of everything, not just learning, but practically everything. So if we look at the positives and adapt the positives, that because this virus is going to be here for some time, it's not, we would be kidding, we would be joking, we would be fooling ourselves if we think that this virus is going to leave in the next 2 months. It's going to be here for a while. And of course, we need to safeguard our children, we need to safeguard each other, the teachers, the faculty, everybody, in terms of adapting new methods. I think what our friend here wanted to mention is that, of course, infrastructure is expensive, virtual reality, augmented levels of artificial intelligence, creation of avatars so that they can communicate with each other and better with the faculty and the student community. The idea is that this is what needs to be facilitated by the government. This is what is the idea, that the ministry, federal government and state governments or so on and so forth need to work together in conjunction with the universities and schools and provide them with this infrastructure, because this is not a debate for 2 and 4. The idea is to coexist. You can never substitute human to human interaction. That is never going to happen. But at the same time, we must look at the positives of technology. It is enabling to create a much open environment for people to interact. I have received so many mentoring requests in the last 6 months, which I possibly would have not requested in the last 6 years. There's so many people who are open to reaching out and communicate, because today there's so much of technology interface in our lives. So I think we should look at the goods and the positives of everything. And of course, there is no substitute for physical human-to-human interaction, especially in education. As people who want that our kids need to speak with teachers, learn from them. And of course, like our fellow panelists mentioned about children with special needs, I think they are the ones who are losing out on the most, because today we are able to adopt faster than them. And that's what we need to focus on, is to train their parents in terms of teaching them, keeping them in line with the moving times. So like I said, and I would reiterate, the parents need to learn simultaneously along with the students and adapt to the new methods of education, because newer methods are for your good. It's to make your life simpler. It's not here to make your life complicated. So let us look at it conveniently and let us try to coexist. There can be human-to-human interaction, but at the same time, adopting digital formats, online formats, virtual reality in education is highly relevant and very, very important, even in the times to come.
And
No, I agree with you. It has to
point out
coexist.
To add,
for Mr. Arshi, just to push on the UAE government, last year the government launched a program called Rahil, which I absolutely love, and I think I was really hoping to see it expanded under COVID-19. But it's not just private players. Governments have to take leadership, and the UAE, and we've been closely following them, has done a fantastic job, for example, in providing telecom connections and having centralized curriculum management systems, and also really pushing things forward when it comes to regulatory systems. When you have that kind of leadership and that kind of committed ability to execute, I think that is something we really, really need. I'm very excited for example, for the Indian new education policy, which has been announced, which also hopefully will revolutionize things. But I must admit, I am very envious of the way the UAE government handled the education side of it. It was phenomenally well done.
Thank you so much. And I think also the good part about that is that the government is highly committed to providing the infrastructure to everybody involved so that at the end of the day, our children and everyone is able to benefit from this, because the idea is to educate them. The idea is to constantly reskill and upskill. You have to go on upgrading it. You can't go backwards. You have to only go forward. And I think the government is doing a commendable job. The ministries are working, the federal department. Emirate-wise, also there are specific initiatives that are available in the public domain to view. And I think this serves as a good example for world governments to emulate, because this is a small country based on the exceptional and commendable leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, and of course our Prime Minister, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, ruler of Dubai. I think the leadership has really earned its space in the global community in terms of education, in terms of adapting remote learning, in terms of adapting technology, in terms of, and for the good, for the convenience of everybody. Because we have to understand that technology is for our benefit. It doesn't need to be pitted against us. We need to use it to our convenience. And I think the day when people understand that, they wouldn't have a problem with adapting to newer methods.
A panelist?
Your Excellency. I totally agree with Her Excellency because the UAE, the Emirates, they are indeed a perfect example for the whole world. So this I must say, I wish that the whole world would follow this example. It will be wonderful and very harmonious. Shukran, Your Excellency.
Mishra, we would like to understand what are the challenges for the student those are applying for study in US?
Thank you, Rishabh. There is as such no challenge. If they do their homework and their research, there is no challenge at all. Because first of all, students should be very clear about their goals, what they want to do, whether they want to stay back in USA or want to go back to their country. So it depends on their goal. They should choose the line of education because they should study what is the field job market in the country where they're going to. What is the demand for that job? If that education is gonna give them employment. So if they decide, if they choose that right field of education and they know the goal, if they want to go back to India, they need to understand when they come back to India, what are the jobs available for them after they come studying in USA. So if they decide on their goal and they do the research, and then also the important part is where they want to study. That is the most important. The university makes a lot of difference in terms of getting the employment, especially in USA if you want to stay back, right? So every university is specialized in their particular field of study. They need to look into that and see if this is the field of study we want to go to. And also if they want to stay back in USA, they want to continue working here, secure the green card, they want to secure the employment here, get sponsorship, then also the university does matter. So somebody studying in Yale for a law degree, the employers are gonna go to the Yale because it's one of the best university for the law school, versus MIT is for the engineering. So it depends what is their goal is very important. And they also need to start this journey of coming to USA 2 or 3 years before they actually come, because it does matter. Because if they want to stay back in USA, there are a lot of laws here that they can get the green card if they have done their studies, they've done their education and they have prepared for it. So for example, a student who wants to stay back here, and most of the students, they want to get an experience here and get and study here and experience and get a green card, but they are not aware of all the laws, they are at disadvantage. So I can give you an example right now on EB2 category, which is on master's degree. The wait time for the green card is 151 years if somebody has applied in 2017. But if the same student who are coming here, and if they have a managerial experience or have done research, in the field, in any field or anything, they can cut down that time by 149 years. So they can get it in 2 years. So that is an important thing they need to know. Important is anybody we need to know what is our goal in life, right? So especially if you're coming to the different country, new country, that is very important. And if they have come on, there is the students who have come here for MBA and they have an experience in religious field, they can get the visa green card within 1 year on EB4 category. So understanding the law, immigration law and all is extremely important. Because you go to the new country, you don't know anything. You just like, okay, my friend or my parents or somebody says, I need to go to USA to study. That's not the answer. You're spending a lot of money to come here. The biggest challenge is for them is to prove that what are the plan after they come back to India, go back to India. That is the biggest challenge, to prove that the consulate. They are the one who gives the hard time, because university do want international students. They have a special place for them. Students, they need international students. So that's not a case with one I-20, securing the I-20 for university. But getting the F1 from the consulate is very difficult, because consulate wants to know what are your plans when you come back, because student visa is a temporary visa. You are not supposed to stay back. So if you have a clear plan that this is my plan after I come back and I have a funding, they will give you F1 for sure. That is not an issue, and you have a funding. So I think, Rishabh, there is no challenges if people do their homework, they do their research, they know what are their goals are, and pick the right university. And as far as the cultural, I think it's same for any student, even the local student here, when they go out of their home first time, when they're after 18, they are in shock. They are leaving their home, comfort of their home, and now they are on their own. It's the same thing. And especially as kids coming from India, they should have no problem with language either. So I don't think it's a challenge, but I think the US is a country of opportunity. If you have done your research, you know exactly what you want. Yes, takes time to get settled and secure the job. And there is an OPT. They work with OPT, they can work for anybody for 3 years. There is no sponsorship required. And some university also offer CPT, which is they can use 1 year of that work experience as a part of their curriculum. They can, as an education, which a lot of students are not aware of that. And some university have incubation program where they sponsor their H1, because they have created this incubation program with some entrepreneurs, and they sponsor those students who are interested in going into the field of business. So knowing all those options, I think the students will not have any challenges. I think it's an opportunity, and it's a great country, I say, with a good education system.
Mittalji, my next question is for you. As you spent almost entire of your life in innovations and innovative businesses, so just wanted to understand, like, what are the main challenges while you are mentoring to the innovations, being as a mentor? Mittalji, your voice is on mute. Mittalji, your voice is on mute.
Yes, I'll change. Change. Okay. Well, let me first of all say that we have gone into the discussion of online versus offline, moved away from entrepreneurship. Let me bring you back to entrepreneurship. Let me start with a small story before I answer your question. I actually wanted to be an entrepreneur myself. With a surname like Mittal, what else I could have thought of? I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I was studying in IIM Ahmedabad, and my business plan was ready. An industrial shed was allocated to me. The bank loan was sanctioned. I was to graduate and start an enterprise. Well, one of my professors, he said that there's this new institute which is doing this program, how to start your own business. Well, I went and attended that program. I participated in that program. And I was very impressed with one of the speakers there, one of the mentors, late Dr. Dr. H.C. Rawal. And I thought that he knows everything about a startup, a small scale industry. If I work with this gentleman under his guidance for 2 years, I will know everything about the small scale industry. There was a fear of failure in my mind. And I thought I will also get over that. I will be very well equipped and then I will start my own industry. Well, that was the end of my entrepreneurial dreams. Instead of becoming an entrepreneur, I became a mentor. And 30 years I have been mentoring entrepreneurs, but I have never become one. So now coming to your question of what are the challenges which I have faced as while mentoring innovators. Well, the first challenge is that innovators are creative people. Where the world sees a problem, they see a solution. Mind the word solution, not an opportunity. There's a distinction between an innovator and an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur sees the opportunity, whereas the innovator sees only the solution part of it. That's the that's the distinguishing factor between an innovator and an entrepreneur. Since they are creative and they think that their idea is the best thing which has happened to the world. But unfortunately, the world doesn't think so. And they are not willing to take no for an answer. So mentoring an innovator is a big challenge, And if they have to succeed as innovators, normally they have to form teams with entrepreneurs or people who can run businesses. This is the first thing which they don't easily digest, because every innovator thinks that they are born great businessmen also, which is not correct. So this is the first myth which you have to break in a innovator. The second challenge is that the patience levels of innovators are very low. They want success yesterday, which is not going to come so soon. And this is what, again, they need a good mentor, a good coach, which is needed. So these are the two biggest challenges. Of course, then there are plenty of routine challenges which you have with anybody. So these are the two main challenges which I thought. Thank you.
Very well said.
Narayanji, I wanted to understand from you, like, what is the meaning of a mentor? How do you see a good mentor?
Well, let me also tell you that a mentor has a limited role to play. A mentor has, if I say the success factor is 100%, the role of the mentor to me is not more than 10%. This is again my personal opinion. It could vary for various people. But first of all, the entrepreneur or the innovator will have to have that fire in the belly to succeed. Mentor can make a difference. He can facilitate the task, but he cannot run the business on behalf of the entrepreneur. Now, the mentors also are of various kinds. They come in all shapes and sizes. In India, what you see is that there are some people who just encourage. Yes, good, go ahead. Chalo. That's one kind of a mentorship. But to me, that's not the exact meaning of mentorship. Mentorship is somebody who holds their hands, is with them in the tough times, also guides them, also introduces them to people, plays an active role in the business. Not running the business, but is actually a part and parcel of the business. To me, that's a good mentor.
Vinderji, would you like to add something in this?
Oh, you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. See, he is very well summarized. It is very important to know what sort of a mentor you are going to. The trouble these days is everybody has become a mentor. I want to teach something to somebody and make them praise me that, oh, wow, wonderful job. He's taught me so well. He's mentored me so well. And especially in media line, the trouble is the good guys are so busy creating software, creating things that they're not even available to mentor. But fortunately, there are people who take it very, very seriously. They create a line of succession. They breed people who will take over. They breed people who will grow and do better things than them. The idea of a mentor is not to shape what you want to shape. The role of a good mentor is to let the shape take its own shape, just guide it through. It's like a gardener. The plant will grow on its own. I need to put water. I need to chip off if something is going wrong. I need to sometimes protect it. Sometimes I need to give some light to it. So he just has to guide the person along into developing what the person will ultimately develop. I may be an excellent guy. I know everything. I need the technology. I know how to do things right. But the guy I'm teaching may not be so sharp. So I have to adapt. I have to mold the guy into the pace, into the structure that the guy will ultimately grow up and succeed. It's very important to ensure that the person grows into a person who becomes an expert in his techniques, in his way of working, not the mentor's way of working. It's not going to work for everyone. So there is not a formula that you put 40 people in a class, mentor them, and they'll all become excellent, or there's a standard thing that you teach everyone. It's not. Mentorship is done in a very, very select group, maybe 3 or 4 people, no more than that. The ideal mentor chooses the pupils and then imparts the training as per the pupils' need. It should not be a business. See, it's a very, very, mentorship is a very, very committed kind of an activity, as opposed to, I would say, normal teaching or normal tutoring, because that you're doing for money. Here, my motivation is not the money that I will get. The motivation is, will this man grow up into becoming a Tata or a Birla or a guy who will innovate, who will invent, who will change the world? If I am mentoring somebody, my success is only when the person that I mentored has been able to bring about some change. So that's very, very, very important.
Arshi, can you hear? Yes, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
It was a very nice, very inspired speech by our dear colleague, Mr. Rabindra, which was wonderful and really the truth. I'm not a mentor. I have a mentor, and I totally agree with him. First of all, it's difficult to find the right mentor. Second, you need to have a long-term vision. They need to be specialized in a field in business for minimum 30, 40 years. And yes, indeed, don't expect magic or don't expect miracles, because you must see indeed ourselves as a brute diamond stone, and your mentor is giving you symbolic a hammer and a sickle to walk on that brute stone, to make from that brute stone a beautiful shining diamond. It takes a long time. You can fail. It can fail, but that's not a problem if it fails. We learn from our failure. It doesn't matter. But one of my criteria, I'm happy that I have the opportunity, that I have a right mentor. I'm not a mentor, but I have the right mentor who guide me. Yes, and I'm very happy that it is someone who is very well placed, who have experience in business as a former CEO of a big telecom company. And indeed, at the end, it's all at myself. It's my duty to grow further with my business or as a social entrepreneur or other things. So I totally agree with this wonderful moderation of our colleague, Mr. Rabindra, because this is the truth. And I'm very grateful that I connected with a grateful person like Mr. Rabindra today. So thank you.
So I would like to add something to that. The mentor should be the one we pick who has been there and have been there. So they should know what they're doing, like Mr. Ravinder said, because choosing a right mentor is very important but also important is that everybody needs a mentor. That's what I agree. Even a person who is successful in their field, they do need a mentor they can go to for an advice when they need it. For example, I'm a tutor and I'm a teacher, but sometimes I get stuck with certain students or certain things, and I need to go to somebody who is going to advise me and guide me in the right direction to help that student. So if I would say everybody needs a mentor, and mentors are extremely important in our life, and we can learn from them, but choosing the right mentor is very important. And if Mr. Mittal said that somebody who says do this, do that, they are not a mentor, they are a coach. They are a coach, they are not mentors. One who says just do this, do that, they are not a mentor at all. So if you need to be very careful when you choose the mentor, do they have an experience in that field is extremely important.
I totally agree. See, the generation now is so fortunate that they can actually choose mentors. 30 years ago, when we started doing television, there was nobody to teach us. You had to learn on the job. You had to make mistakes, fail many times, and then emerge, learn from the mistakes. There were no mentors in India when we started in the early 90s.
Maybe that's why you are the best, because we learn best from our mistakes.
Absolutely, I agree.
We don't make mistake, we don't learn.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why you're best in your field.
My mentors existed in different fields, in journalism or in teaching or any other things, from whom I actually learned the lessons of life, which you implement in your business. For example, I'll give you a quick example. In my college, my teacher asked me to give us summer vacation work to study the novel called Odyssey. And he gave us a list of 20 questions that you can attempt any 15 out of these and submit your assignment. So I did all 20. And I said, you can choose whatever 15 answers you think best. And he wrote on my paper, those who do more than what they are asked to do will go far in life. And there were 10 A's in far. That line has stuck to me. That in your business, if you do more than what you're being paid to do, you'll never fail. You will succeed. You will go further and further and further. So maybe I didn't learn the techniques of television, but I learned the techniques of life to turn into the field of business.
I think Kananji made a very, very important distinction here, and I think it deserves a fine point there. I think a lot of people confuse a coach, a mentor, an advisor, and quite frankly, your psychiatrist. Those are four different roles. And I think mentors confuse that as well as much as mentees do. That they're supposed to be there, and the way I distinguish them is that a mentor's biggest contribution is to be there helping you make the critical decisions of your life. It's not in day-to-day, oh, I got into this problem, I need an introduction, all of that. That's fine, right? But there are a lot of very young and very good business coaches out there that can really help you, move along your business, give you great advice. There's a lot of advisory available also on how you can do it. A mentor is somebody when you have those decisions where you have no one else to turn to, they bring that valuable experience. And those decisions, for most people come maybe 20, 30 times in their entire life max. And usually it's much fewer. And I think I love the fact that you said, yes, let's make sure that your coaching is very different from mentoring. I think that's a fine point that we should all take cognizance of.
And mostly the mentors find the answers from you only by talking to you.
True.
So would you like?
As a mentor who has been working now actively with startups, what I can tell you is 3 ways I see clearly a mentor contributing to entrepreneur. One is helping him in his visioning, because generally speaking, if you look at entrepreneurs, they are anywhere between 25 to 35. They haven't really seen the world, but you bring in your 30 years experience and help them putting up a vision which is bold, big, achievable. Number one. Number two, help them to create a strategy to achieve it. The strategy execution is their part, but what steps you can really take there. And third is really identify their strengths and weaknesses to actually help them to identify the partners to beat their weaknesses. As Mr. Mittal rightly said, that if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to provide business opportunity. If I'm an inventor, I'm going to create a solution. And if you have to run a business, you have to marry both these parts to really create a feasible, profitable business which can keep on growing. And as a mentor, you need to really build that canvas of vision, strategy, and strength and weakness put together to really help them to grow and really move fast. And in fact, I like this whole example of what Mr. Narayan said about Gardner. What I always looked at forward, within India, we have two fantastic so-called coaches. One is Ramakant Achrekar, who factored or sculpted Sachin Tendulkar, and then Deshprem Azad, who sculpted Kapil Dev. Now, I don't regard them as coaches. They are called coaches, but they were really speaking mentors because they bought into cricket here. For example, Kapil Dev, before he came in, India was not well known for fast bowlers. To make him believe that he was a fast bowler, to make him believe he was an all-rounder, I think Deshprem Azad did a fantastic job. If you look at Mumbai cricket, there was so much impression about Ajit Wadekar, Sunil Gavaskar, Dilip Vengsarkar, but to allow a style of Sachin Tendulkar to emerge from that is, I think, again, Ramakant Achrekar's mentorship that really provided it. And always I believe that when I look at mentorship, these are, people who dedicated their lives, not for money, just to look at that their shishyas really won the whole world. I think that's a fantastic example. I believe exactly resonating what you said, what your teacher said, that it will take you far, far ahead. I think that's what mentors have to really do.
Georgie, would you like?
I'd like to join from here, Rishabh. I'd like to join from the last pretty interesting example, and I'll take your apology and the apology of the panel. Like, I'm traveling from one part of the North India to the other, so I had so many network glitches. I was able to grasp the part of the discussion which is going on a wonderful line. Here, in my opinion, in my experience, what I see to it is, see, coaching is a full-time assignment and mentoring is a byproduct of it. How mentoring is a byproduct of it, like when we are formally into coaching, we get so many pupils around to whom we induct and we start coaching them on so many things. We take their visionary ideas or the initial ideas where we give them the shape, we form the strategy for them, we show them the pathway, and out of the lot of pupils that we have, from there we get odd candidates, like the example of Sachin Tendulkar becomes pretty relevant. Like the example of Kapil Dev becomes pretty relevant. And then the coach converts himself into the mentor for the people who have that extraordinary thing. The other gentleman said that I attempted 20 out of 20 questions when there was a choice of 15. So the mentee has to have something in addition to himself so that a mentor adopts him and it goes beyond the field of coaching and it enters into mentoring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like to add something?
I totally agree with that. It's the same. You have stars. You have stars, but stars doesn't exist. Behind the stars, you always have teamwork. The creation of stars, it is the creation of teamwork, and it's the same with the right mentorship. A mentor, he guides his person for who is responsibility to try to create a star, and it is really a guiding transfiguration process. Guiding is most important in this. I'm not a mentor, as I said already before. I have a mentor, and it's a beautiful something to have a mentor.
Very good.
Georgie, would you like to add something in this? Georgie,
Yeah, Rishabhji, good evening. In fact, I was just writing message to you that I have to leave now. I have to attend another call from US. But really very interesting conversations were going on about mentor. We being a banker, what we have seen actually, and I will not talk about the student life, but I will talk about the businessmen here. We have seen many businessmen, like a student, they join this entrepreneurs particularly. We have so many examples that entrepreneur, and actually the mortality rates of the new entrepreneurs is very high because of not getting a proper mentoring. We as a bankers, actually we deal with so many businesses of a different variety and different category, different sizes from different sectors. So over a period we become like a jack of all, you can say. So we do our bit when anybody is coming as a new entrepreneur, even developed entrepreneurs, even many of the corporate clients also. It is our experience that they need mentoring on some area or the other. Insofar as young entrepreneurs are concerned, quite a few people have expressed here. They have the expertise, they have the technical knowledge of running the business, but the technical knowledge or expertise or the domain knowledge in the business doesn't work alone. When you are talking about the running the business, you need to understand the total ecosystem of the business, how it runs. And therefore, because we are actually working on various their what you can say, forward linkages, backward linkages, everything we know. So we are many times we are in a position to mentor them. But what we observe is in India particularly, there is no structured mentorship actually is available. Very few people, those who have the abilities or those who have that liking to help others, they come forward. They also need some time to give these mentors, and there are very many success stories also. In fact, I will tell you one very small boy. He started a cycle repair, puncture actually, cycle repair shop, puncture he used to do, and we gave him a loan to set up a proper cycle repair shop of 5 lakh rupees only. And over a period, that boy, because we also assigned him one mentor, he was also a ex-banker, particularly these days, perhaps Rishabh, I would like to tell you, many of the bankers, particularly after retirement, they are taking up this job as a social cause for mentoring the entrepreneurs and on their own. They don't work for any remuneration or anything, they, just as a social cause. So one of the mentor, who one of the ex-banker, and that banker also was not very much senior or something like that, just a senior manager cadre person. He was associated mentoring him. You won't believe, over a period, that boy actually became rather so much successful in the business. He started even cold retrading, hot retrading of the tires, and he was awarded best entrepreneurship award in Germany for starting from the scratch. So there are many success stories in our life as a banker. We see that, but mentoring is really has its own importance, and not only in students' life, but even in the businessman's life. All businesses, and once again, I will say, it is not only the new entrepreneurs, or it is not only the young entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs of all vintage, all size of businesses, they need some kind of mentoring or the other. And therefore, in India, there are some organizations like I mentioned you, the organization like Bharati Yuva Shakti Trust, which has affiliation with Prince Charles NGO. They do a lot of mentoring for small businesses. There are certain other NGOs who are actually doing a lot of handholding for the entrepreneurs, but those are very limited available as on date. And I think we need to have take a concerted effort to create a lot of mentors so that our success stories will actually grow. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, Mr. Kishor. I totally agree with that. You're totally right with it. I totally agree with and totally right with this. We need more successful stories like this, and more people, like you said, who take responsibility in the right, correct direction. It's because the real good ones, they are selective, as you said. It's true. It's very true. I know that very well. But we need more of this angels. Angels is the right word. Angels.
Yes.
Angels. Thank you.
Vaibhavji, can you listen me?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Vaibhavji, just wanted to know, like, who were your mentors and what was the impact of their presence in your business?
Thank you, Rishabh. So, in fact, during my entrepreneurship journey in the last 2.5, 3 years, uh, I have had several mentors and learned a large amount of lot of valuable lessons from each one of them. See, as an entrepreneur, it's exciting to go alone and create something on your own. However, the reality is, while you have a great idea, you may not exactly know what actually you should be doing into your business and what kind of decision might have which impact, because it's being an information world things change very very fast all around us. So from my earlier organizations as well as few associations sideways, people have kept coming aside, have developed some good a good comfort feel comfortable with all of them, and somewhere most of them actually have been all along, and they've been basically helping, feeling that yes, the boy can actually is looks like he's doing a tough and difficult job all along. So that's where people have kept along. But I have benefited immensely. See, I will not differentiate here between a coach or a mentor, which my senior panelists have already done. But I would rather keep it simple. And these are people who have guided me all along, and they have stood by me all along. I would not say I have still reached the stage, but with their help, I feel things have fastened, and probably where I could have been at year 6 or year 7, probably it looks like I'll be in year 3. That's where I have immensely benefited in terms of knowledge with their experience. If I would have moved all alone, there could have when I look back, I see probably I would have done a lot of few of these mistakes, and would have proved dangerous and might have very negative impact on the business. But because of their advice and information sharing, and probably the similar mistakes which they would have done in their careers and business, that has actually helped many places. And I also see this being a very very collaborative world where you can't succeed in isolation and can't do everything on your own. That's where those connections, network, and their goodwill actually has helped in making me sit across the right people, right person, right opportunity, right partnership. And that's where actually has helped big time. And that's where I see things. And now in these difficult times also, I see, when I see and look back, I feel without these mentors, probably things would have been very very difficult, as it looks for many of the other startups also. And either ways, we are doing something which which almost half of it actually have already come to a pause. Fortunately, because of these mentors, not everything has come to a pause. So that's where I feel the role of a mentor, when people start very early. Actually, I started after 1.5 decades being in a job, but these days people start the current generation, which has been born almost on the internet, in an information age. For them, it is very important to if they want to start on an entrepreneurship journey, it's important to tag along people whom they trust and whom they can actually fall back for an advice. So that's been my experience. I think it's extremely important. Don't start alone. That's uh, my message to the younger generation who have those entrepreneur aspirations.
Takkaji, we wish to understand from you one point. Do you feel like mentors are getting right recognition, what they deserve?
It's now let us see what is the situation in India. I'll give you my example to start with. See, I have had a lot of mentors, I would say, at various stages of life. When you are in school, when you're in college, again, especially once you come to your job, because that my basic background, I was as a banker for almost 40 years. So at various stages, I had various mentors. Then I again I had opportunity as a banker, especially to mentor a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, because of my job profile. I think there are a lot of opportunities, and people were also looking forward to us. So I have seen both the sides, the mentors I had and what mentoring I have done. So getting a recognition is not something which normally the mentors are looking at. I think in more of the mentors which you would see or which one would have in his life are in the way of informal way. I think in India especially, we have not formalized the mentoring system. Who are normally our mentors? It could be our boss, it could be our peers, or it could be somebody known to us, or somebody in the same line of activity whom we think he is a role model for us, and we know him provided. So it is functioning more of in the informal way rather than as a formal type of a, I would say, a job profile or as a business, as a mentoring business. So from that angle, if you would say yes, they may not be getting that recognition because it's not formalized. But informally, I think everybody, everyone, whether it's a businessman, whether it's a person in the service, they have a lot of mentors and everybody acknowledges that. And today, whatever we may be, whether as an entrepreneur we are there, I think at various stages, we require advice of somebody. When we reach say a dead end, or we have to choose between two paths and we are not sure which way to go ahead, or we require some expertise opinion in our field of activity, we obviously look forward to somebody, we seek the advice of somebody, and he becomes our mentor. Because we know in case of any difficulty, we can fall back on, we can seek his advice, and we will normally follow his advice. So that's a trust, the faith which we develop with our mentor. So recognition may not be in the typical form, but I think they have a very important role. And this system has been functioning for, I think, a long time. It will function, but the time perhaps has come to formalize it. Perhaps we could have various organizations who could come forward. And as Mr. Kishor had said, there some organizations are there who are doing this job, but they're very far and very few ones. So I think we require some more formal type of system, and that should help, especially the new generation entrepreneurs, and especially with this COVID situation. I think most of the people are facing these issues in their businesses, and a proper level of mentorship would definitely help them to come out of this situation or face this situation bravely. So in the end, I would just summarize by saying, yes, there may not be a formal system, but it has its importance, and we need a more formalized system, especially in India. Thank you.
Dimitri, would you... Yes, Mishra, please.
There is a fine line, like somebody said, that we coach everyone, but we become a mentor for few who needs hand-holding. And when we start mentoring them, we create a trust between mentee and mentor, and they look up to the mentor. So there might not be a formal recognition for them, but there is a definitely lot of satisfaction when you mentor somebody and you see they are successful. And I am a teacher. I was also a teacher before coming to USA, and I was tutoring somebody, and few days back, I was so surprised to get a message from my formal student who is now successful businessman. And he said, I was searching for you, and like, how did you find? And good to this Facebook and internet. He said, I searched you through somebody I knew, and I found you because I didn't. So I said, oh, wow, you remember me? He said, of course I remember you, because that time you had told me, never give up a hope. I had no idea I would have told him that, because that time I was very young too. I didn't realize I had told him that. But he said, I can never forget that word. And this morning he wishes me Happy Teacher's Day. And he said, you are my 360-degree teacher, guru. So you do not know how you're gonna get recognized and when. if you do the right job of holding somebody's hand and mentoring them, there is a recognition for sure, whether they might not tell you verbally, but they will be successful in their life. And it comes around to us saying, well, we did a good job. So I think the mentor are very important. Like I said before, for everyone. I would say everyone need a mentor, no matter what age you are, whether you are in a business or any field, but you do need somebody to go to and take an advice, and they become a mentor for you. So I think mentors are very extremely important.
And I believe these undemanded testimonials for the teaching community in particular, they are the biggest recognition that as mentors or as teachers they want to have.
True.
Mittalji, would you like to add something?
I totally agree. It's having a mentor like myself, like I said before, it's a beautiful, wonderful something. And I wish that in India, one of my great wishes is that all these young startups that are starting up today newly as young entrepreneurs look for a mentor in India that will be really guide them like angels. The world need more angels.
I just take 2 minutes to, on a happy note, I can share a small story, which is an actual story. There was this startup or a businessman whose business had run into problems. He had debt all over and he was very upset. So one day he went to the park and he was very frustrated, sitting on a bench, both his hands on his head. He was frustrated and sitting like that. Suddenly he saw a man coming that side, not in very well-dressed clothes, but he asked him, what is the problem? So he said, this is the problem. He said, what do you need? He said, I need some money to run my business. This gentleman gave him a check of $1 million. This is a story of New York. Gave him a check of $1 million. And immediately this entrepreneur asked him, how do I return this money to you? He said, we will meet here after 1 year, and then you can give me the check back. So this entrepreneur went to his business with that check in hand. He was now charged up. He started working hard, and within a year, his business got turned around. He never deposited that check. He was able to get through that bad phase without that check. After a year, he went there, back to the same place, same park, waited for that gentleman to turn up. But after about hour of waiting, he didn't see. Suddenly, after 1.5 hours, he sees there's a nurse which is running here and there. So then she asked this gentleman, have you seen man with such and such description? So he said, no, in fact, I am also looking for that gentleman. So she told him, I am from the mental asylum. And this man goes around signing checks with Rockefeller as his name, but he's actually from a mental asylum. So imagine that just that hope which he had for 1 year gave him enough courage without even depositing that check. I think that was a great hope, and that helped him turn around his business. Well, that was the last story I had. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to add something in this? Ryanji?
No, I'm good about it. Good.
Dimitri, would you like to add something in this?
I didn't understand the details at the end. Like I didn't. The noise was not so clear.
I'm saying, would you like to add something in this?
I didn't hear him at the end so well. How the story ended at the end.
Oh, how the story ended.
Yeah, at the end, yes.
Well, the story was about a patient from mental asylum who used to cut checks. So he had given him a check where there was no money, but that check proved to be the inspiration for the man to succeed.
Yes, who succeed. Yeah, it's a wonderful story. I wish the world need more of these successful stories.
Yeah.
Govindji, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, Govindji, yes. We would like to understand from you, like, what are the challenges and opportunities in remote mentoring?
So I think the challenges are much more than I would say the advantages. The advantage is, yes, you can't give reasons that I don't have time, I can't travel, there is traffic jam, and all those reasons go away out of wind completely. And it is much more neutral because you're not actually interacting with that person. You're much more like a third party trying to mentor. But if you really ask me for a real mentor, we being human beings, we always want to interact. And as we want to interact, we can see emotions. We can see if a guy is frustrated, if he is passionate, all those emotions you can't really see. You can see on screen, but when you see a person live, it's much more happening at that case, number one. Number two, in a live environment, also you can walk around with his team, understand whether he's actually implementing things, get a feedback from the third parties and understand whether he's progressing really or not. In a remote one, he's only reporting back to you. You can't talk to third parties. You can't really check live environment. And especially people like me who are in retail. So retail, is all about detail, walking the store, walking from where the customers enter right up to where the staff exits. You walk everything in a store. So my typical assignment with any of my retail heads was actually start a walk where the customer starts and where he ends. And that would be a fantastic way to really understand how the store is well equipped to serve the customer. And that used to be good training for me, good training for my team members. And while we are walking, we could look at everything, the merchandise, how the stock is kept, how the people are dressed, is everyone polite, not polite, everything you can see in 1 hour's walk. So those are things and movements that you can't do in this kind of a remote one. But yes, it's obvious. And I think one of the points mentioned was, can we get a mix today of between virtual, online and real? Which is what I think we are trying to make do because of COVID. And I think that's a combination that will emerge over a period of time. But as I said, a mentor is as passionate as the entrepreneur. A mentor is as passionate as the innovator. And that passion cannot be really seen or burned when you are doing really a remote kind of a thing. You have to learn and live with that company, with that entrepreneur, with his life. Yes, you won't execute. So just like the earlier example, as I said, Achrekar doesn't go and hit that 4 or 6 or cover drive for Sachin Tendulkar, but he knows exactly how to guide Sachin to play that shot in multiple conditions with multiple bowling attacks, etc. And I think that's what the mentor really does. And when a mentor is live, actually he can see a lot of things. And when he's already worked for a number of years, he knows the pitfalls, he knows where the challenges are. And that's a big advantage of working along rather than remote. Yeah.
Dimitri, would you like to add something in this?
No, but it reminds me that one of my courses in the digital marketing communication, the customer journey and the golden circle of
Yes.
Apple, why, how, what. And I remember one of my teachers, not my mentor, but one of my teachers, who was working that time for a Samsonite company, the traveling bags, you all well know.
Yeah.
So what he did, he went a weekend to one of a very small retail shop, very, very, very small retail shop, to work volunteer one weekend in that specific small retail store who was selling Samsonite bags, just to observe and to listen to his customers, the customer journey,
Correct.
So
correct.
it reminds me, remind me to that, because it's a beautiful, wonderful example of a greater something, of course, we're talking about today. So yes, the world needs more angels like this. And I repeat again, especially a wish for all the young entrepreneurs, not only in India, but global, worldwide. Every day there are more than 50,000 startups every second of the day, global, worldwide. So it's a wonderful, great challenge and opportunity for to guide them and to lead them. And then I'm sure we have more successful stories in this. So by the way, I'm not a mentor, I have a mentor, which is a beautiful something. So I'm very happy that we had this great global conversation about it.
Mishra, would you like to add something in this?
Are you asking me?
Yes. I'm asking, would you like to add something in this?
Well, yeah, I think there is a challenge when you are trying to mentor somebody and remotely or virtually, because you don't know, like Govind says, that it's not easy to know if they are doing exactly what you are telling them to do when you are doing virtually. And if I give my example, when my students, I'm trying to teach them virtually, some of the students have challenges and I'm not able to hold their hand or tell them or see exactly what they are doing. It's really challenging for me as well as them. And so virtual mentoring is not easy, but if we have a combination of all three, online, virtual, and in person, when we can meet them at the distance, even we can be with them, it's really helpful. But I think that now the world is going to be like this for a while, where we have to adapt to the new ways of doing things. And we have to change our style of teaching or style of mentoring,
Yeah.
and come up with a solution, because every problem brings up the solution also. So I think every challenge has a solution. So I think if we take it as a new way of doing things, mentoring or learning or everything, I think I don't see challenge in everything. I think there is a solution for every challenge. So eventually we will find a way to kind of meet them one-on-one at the distance, because that's needed. We cannot be always be scared and hiding in behind our computer screen and try to teach everybody. We have to one day come out and start meeting people, and we have to be careful. So I think it's not a challenge, but I definitely, there is some disadvantage of having a virtual mentorship to do that.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Totally agree, Miss Kanan. There is something I learned very well from my mentor. If you need help, then ask for help. So, thank you.
It's a great line. I mean, I was told that the opportunity is always there. You must know how to pursue it. You knock on 10 doors, at least one will open. And unless you have knocked, the answer is no. So unless you ask the question, the answer is always no. You ask the question, you might get a yes. So that's what we teach our sales guys, that don't think that this client profile will not fit into this. He will not agree to advertise on this channel or this or that. I say, go and ask. You don't know what his need is. He might need you. So, and India has had a great tradition of mentoring. I mean, so has Greece been. I mean, there would have been no Alexander if there was no Socrates. And in India, so we've had the tradition of mentoring. The rishis in their ashram were not just giving education. They were not just telling them how to read, write, or do. They were giving them a whole 360-degree training, lives training, and then identifying who will fit into which role. So in the kingdoms, the mentor would decide who will become the commander, who will become the trader, who will become the advisor, because they could see the skills, they could see the strengths, and they could see how to hone those skills, how to train them, and then fit into those roles. That's how the entire concept of a peaceful society came into being. We were a river-based civilization, so we understood that sow the seeds, sit patiently, crop will come. You don't have to go hunt. And that's what was told generation after generation after generation. And that's what shapes the civilization. So actually the mentors or the teachers, the right ones, will shape a nation if they go about their job diligently and they're allowed to do the job.
That is important. Allowed to do is very important.
Very important.
Because a lot of time people don't want to listen to what, especially when the mentors are trying to tell them. So that is a very important. They should be allowed to do their job and they should be trusted. That is the most important thing.
Narayanji, as you are from media industry, we just want to understand, like, is it really tough to find a mentor in media industry?
Not now. There are many now. Earlier, there used to be an issue. But even now, the trouble is the entire media industry is geared toward training you in journalism, how to become a reporter or a newscaster or a cameraman or this. Nobody teaches you how to create a channel. how to create a television show, how to create software which will engross people in it. Most of the time you are attached to an established director and only then you learn. There are no institutions even today who are providing you mentors into television industry in India at least. I mean, I can't go to a person like Satyajit Ray and ask him to mentor me how to make films. It's still not happening in India. I mean, a lot of people have tried opening schools, but they become again fee gathering institutions, or there are a lot of TV channels, news channels who have opened schools to train people into television and media, but they're actually just training them to becoming journalists. They're not training them into becoming creators. The new generation which is coming up into creation is now coming from digital media. They're learning by creating things on their own, by learning from mentors on YouTube, by remote learning and all this, and committing mistakes. Even now, they commit mistakes, they learn. And then they make more new shows, new software, new techniques, they learn. So even now in television, the mentorship is very, very rare to find. You will get trainings, you will get schools, you will get people who teach you techniques. But I still haven't seen anybody who's got a mentor who shaped his entire organization into a television success story. It's very, very far and few between. Very, very rare. But as I said, most of the guys who started out like me 20 or 30 years ago into television is 20 year only in India. They are now at the peak of their careers and they're so busy either making money or either shaping the views of the nation, or the nation wants to know through them, as they claim, and the self-proclaimed champions of democracy or whatever. They're busy doing that instead of mentoring, instead of breeding people who will do some meaningful television. You rarely find meaningful television these days. That's why it is called the idiot box. It's like a quick comic book sort of a thing. The story is journalism is now like, hey, you got a story. The Times now is doing a breaking. What are we doing? Okay, I'm Aaj Tak. I have to be faster. Create one, boss. Alien is standing outside your window, or the Ravana's Mahal has been discovered, or all this. So this is all called news now. Now we are following a case of an actor who committed suicide or was supposed to commit suicide. They want the entire nation to be involved into discovering that. That's not media. I mean, that's not the media that we learned. That's not the media that we were brought up, mentored to create, where you force your view onto the participant. No, you're wrong. This is it. That's not the thing. So in fact, if you see the mentoring we are seeing is highly damaging in media. So you're breeding journalists who are told to be opinionated and driven to prove a point, driven to bring governments to their feet, or if they get after somebody to put them onto their feet. We're not doing journalism now. There is hardly any developmental news. You will find any story which is about normal people, about common people, or stories which involve commoners. Most of the stories you see on news channels is this politician versus this ideology versus this. There's nobody talking, even in COVID times, nobody is talking about how people are losing jobs, what should be done to rehabilitate them, to find them entrepreneurship, to find them new avenues. The world will change. After COVID, the world is going to change forever. Those who do not do more than what their job is. I mean, I just cannot be a book entry accountant and hope to get a job after COVID. I will have to be also an expert in handling HR or administration or doing something on the assembly line. The world now will have people who will have multiple skills to survive, to get jobs. There were coordinators. You will not have coordinators. Nobody can afford marketing coordinator or chief strategist, or all these jobs are going to go. Because the guys who are running the show had the luxury of time to hire such fancy posts and people, put them there to coordinate between A and B and C. Now you don't need them. You coordinate online yourself now. You can't afford to pay coordinators. So a lot of things will change. And there is nobody mentoring. The governments are not even thinking towards creating a talent bank which trains people into surviving in the new world order. We've still not woken up. 5 to 6 months are going to pass. There is not a single thought being put by anybody in the country into now providing people who will train people into acquiring new skills, acquiring new avenues, opening up new lines of businesses. And how are they going to be surviving? The central government tells the state, there is no GST coming to you, you can borrow. I mean, you just can't do this, that you just borrow. I mean, there have to be practical solutions. We have to think of the world which is going to be now. It's not going to be the same world at all now. There will be coexisting of things. There will have to be coexistence of skills. I'll have to also drive my car maybe. I can't afford a driver now. So there'll be a lot of things will change. You'll have to learn new things. Even on your job, you know only one skill. The chances are the company already has somebody who has that skill plus something else. And they will tell him, you do the job. There is no money, boss. Cost cutting, this cutting, labor laws have changed. You have to go. So to survive in the new world, you will need mentors who will train people into survival into a new world. Identify your skills, hone them, train you, skill you up with new things, and make you employment ready. It's a very, very difficult world that is going to be. The COVID is not going away for another year. Even if the vaccine comes in 3 months or 6 months, the mass production of it and then the mass administration of it. I mean, we took 7 years to eradicate polio when everything was sponsored. And we think we will be able to wipe off COVID just like this. It's not going to happen just like this. In 3 to 6 months, it's not going away. So the new world order is emerging. There are people who are thinking already, why do I need this office now when I can work from home? Why do I need this coordinator when I'm coordinating myself? I have more time to do this. So new things will have to be introduced. A lot of people who were doing earlier technical trainings will have to do some other kind of job, some other kind of training of skills in the new world.
Yes, but I totally agree with you, Mr. Rabindra. This is truth. Thank you. But if we go back to history, if we travel back in history, there is no difference today with the Industrial Revolution. Because the last Industrial Revolution, a lot of people, execution, jobs disappeared that never came back. So now there is no difference with Mr. COVID. It's exactly the same evolution. A lot of jobs will disappear, but a lot of new jobs, opportunities are coming more. But like you said, they need to be trained and up to date. So, and what I want to recommend you is that I'm wondering that you were saying that is in India, that it looked like that they are not so fast. And if you compare it to other countries in the Western world, where they are going more faster to take responsibility and action and all this kind of things. And I understand you in one way, that you were also saying that now is the new, the Gen Z generation, it's all technology and this. And in your talking, I feel that you were really looking for the real creators, like in your movie business. I understand you very well, and I totally agree with you, because these new Gen Z technology generation, they don't have the talent to be real creators, as you were talking about it, and you were looking about it. But what I was explaining about in the past, in the history, with the industrial revolution, today there is no difference. There is no difference today. We are in the same evolution. So
the realization has to dawn now. I know at least 3 contract teachers who don't have a job and now selling fruits.
I believe that. I believe it. But here is the same. Don't worry, we're all global on the same boat. Even in Belgium, the US, or Mexico, or India, or Moscow, it doesn't matter. We're all global on the same boat today. And it doesn't matter if we are middle class, or high class, or rich. Everybody loses money, from small until high. We're all global on the same boat. So
losing money is the least of the worry. That's effect. My problem is what's going to happen in future. The money is gone, but I don't even have the skills to earn money in the new world. I need to have those skills now.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Rabindra, like I have a query which is pretty deep in my heart. You spoke a very relevant thing, that media is too busy focusing on an actor suicide and similar things. Do you think that media has gone too far away, that there is no recovery? or in near future you see being at the helm of affairs in one of the leading media industry in India, do you see any hope or do you see any recovery that media will be focusing on the topics and issues and matters related to the common man in this country, or it is too far away a thing that there is no recovery now?
See, it all depends. There is no definitive answer to it. The trouble is there is money being pumped into media institutions into doing a certain activity.
Sorry. There is money going on the world. There is money, and there are investors every day. Believe me, there are partnerships and investors every day, even in media, but not in the old way, like you said, before the industrial revolution. It's a new revolution now. So if you don't jump on that boat,
Is it temporary or will it be a practice?
No, I'll answer you, Sagar. The answer is the viewer will ultimately hold the remote in their hand. They will decide whether I need to be conned every day into believing what is being dished out to me, or whether I switch it off and go somewhere where there is something meaningful coming to me. It will happen. The viewers will choose. The sensationalism always goes right to the top of the charts, but then it climbs down. And ultimately, the viewer will hold the key. They will hold the key.
But then there are supplementary forces to it with such a great population in this country.
That's what I said. There are institutions which are pumping in money to toe a certain line, to say a certain thing. That will keep on happening now. Journalism wasn't like this, but journalism or television, I would say rather, became business. It wasn't business earlier. It was a commitment. It was a mission. This was the fourth pillar of democracy. So you think judiciary can become a business? You think policing can become a business? You think the executive can become a business? But journalism, the fourth pillar, has become a business. It should not have been. Teaching has become a business. It was never. It was a service. It's become a business. So the moment a stream or something becomes business, then there are interests in it to make it grow more and more and earn more money. That's why I said a real mentor is not going after earning money. He is going to breed a nation.
True.
He'll breed an Alexander.
Gulati ji?
Sir.
Sir, I want to understand what are the main challenges for the teachers during this COVID situation?
Sir, I could participate partially in that debate when we were talking about the online versus offline thing. Like there are two coins to everything. There are positives, there are negatives. We spoke about all. But one thing that makes me go crazy when I see the kids, like the online versus offline, this debate, it has two segments. There's a segment of school and then there is a segment of colleges. When you speak about the segment of schools, it is true that COVID is going to stay and we cannot allow our kids to go to the schools. At the same time, the picture is to be analyzed deeper. What I mean to say is, today when every other thing is open, the parents are going to their offices, the parents are now even going to the malls, the parents are going to the markets, and then they're coming back home. Aren't they connecting with their kids? See, when you see a young kid of under 10, if you see his postures while he is studying, maybe on the bed of his bedroom, maybe I may sound a bit crazy, but maybe on the toilet he is doing his online education. There are kids, they have their and their camera to be off, and they are just keeping the mobile phone beside them, anything else. So we are deviating badly from the education. And when so distinguished policymaker kind of a stature people are here, we should find a logical way we deal with in the colleges. So a kid of the age group of 16, they are going to the bakeries to have their patties, they are going to the restaurant to have dinners, and they are roaming outs daily. So when everything else is open, what I want to convey is college is open without any delay. And even if it is about the schools, we need to make certain provisions. There could be odd even kind of a system. There could be many systems, but a complete detachment of the kids from these institutions would be disastrous in my opinion. I see one more picture to it, Rishabh. How I see to it is, see, we Indians tend to develop habits. If this COVID sustains like this for another year or so, which many of the experts believe it will, and our kids are debarred from the entry in the schools, I wonder and I afraid how strong will be the habits that they will develop. And if you ask your kid, or if I ask my kid to go to the school after a year, he will be on a debating mode that I need not a school, I need not an institution. I can do everything on my own. There is so much available online, on YouTube, on so many LMS are coming up. So this debate is to be a bit more deeper, that is it right to keep the schools and the colleges shut for the uncertain times? And then if it is about the teachers, what kind of challenges they are facing, I believe the biggest strength of humans on this planet is the art of adaptability. And in the beginning, when we were in the initial phase of this shutdown and in this lockdown, yes, the teachers were finding it difficult to perform their task on the cameras, specifically when they were being judged by different parents. There was a lot discussed and debated about the quality of the teachers, but I believe things are settling up. Teachers are coping up with this new things which they need to adapt. But then this process is incomplete. Like our Prime Minister said that we have to make a balance between the life and the livelihood. Similarly, when it comes to education, we have to make a balance between the education and the basic arrangement that are to be done to inculcate education in more a foolproof manner, debarring kids irrespective of age. And like there are so many unsaid disadvantages of this online blended learning that we are imparting to the kids, their habits, their body postures, their impact on their health, the kind of habits they are developing. So I wanted, had my network been proper, to indulge in that debate. We need to derive alternatives. We need to make a balance. It may be 2 days of school education. It may be 2 days of college education, depending upon the strength of the schools and the institutions, but it cannot be zero. I strongly believe it cannot be zero.
But Sagar, I think we are in early days. Slowly, the system will mature. The online system will also mature. The digital mode will also mature. The schooling will also mature, and a definitive structure will emerge using the best of both worlds. And I think it's still too early. There is no set formula. The education will need to be now imparted like this only, or the earlier one was the only thing. I would say that the institution of school was dying in any case. Kids were going to school just to be like in a club, to meet friends and all. The actual education they were getting in the coaching centers, where they were going after school. So this needs to evolve further. I mean, the entire system of schooling and education needs to evolve into a better interactive, better accountable, and better serviceable service.
I duly endorse and agree to what you have said. But then the speed at which it is taking place with no doubt of anyone and a complete detachment. It is as good as that I have a bad habit and I've been bound to leave it at once. It will create some repercussions to my body, some repercussions to my behavior, some repercussions to my psychology. So the speed at which it has taken place with no fault of anyone, it is having its side effects. That is one. Second is, it is up to an extent like partially true that we could always question the quality of the schools, the level of education. But you know, even socializing is very important. We cannot keep our kids completely isolated in this modern era when the working parents are having preferably only a single child. If we make this window close that now he does not need to go to school even, I think the repercussions, not maybe in terms of quality of education that he or she was supposed to get, but it will have a multi-directional repercussions which may not be very easy to gauge today.
Yeah, but see, it's an occupational hazard, I would say. And these are teething problems. They will go away slowly, slowly. The world is discovering new means and new methods. I'm sure in the schooling and teaching also, new ways, and we have to do hit and trial. Will this mode of class succeed? Will Zoom meeting succeed? Will a Microsoft meeting will succeed? Or a Google Duo will succeed? Or a WhatsApp group will succeed? All this is evolving and it will evolve gradually. We will reach, and yes, I agree, some damage will be done, something will happen. It's unfortunate that it will happen. Even in a business, there are teething problem. You lose money. There is no set formula that I will put in this much money, open a store, and it will start giving me these much returns. You evolve. You'll evolve a formula. So schooling also will evolve a formula where the ideal situation we will reach maybe in a year or so.
But my concern, Mr.
The things would evolve. See, we would see a lot of changes happening, and they may be for a good. We don't know. Today we feel the things are not moving in the right direction. How will the people cope with it? How will the children cope with it? But I think we'll get used to all these things. Like some things which we can't even think of it. They may also come into picture. Some new ways of teaching. Perhaps we are talking only about online or physical. Something new, some type of a hybrid thing could evolve.
Yes.
So I think we have to just wait. And I think this, if we really see even historically everything, the change is always good. Today it might appear, no, this is not right. Perhaps this interaction, the children going to school, perhaps their development may suffer. Their personality development may not be so good. But I think the things, new ways would be found out. The human, I think, race, we have seen so many things happening historically, and the human race has always come out stronger. So in this case also, I think we should leave it to the things, how the things evolve. And I'm sure we would have a better things to come along. I think
I'm
concerns, I think, which
I'm sure new things will evolve, and I'm sure we will have a world where a teacher is not aligned to just one school. Maybe the teacher is aligned to 4 different schools, teaching similar things to 4 different set of students. It'll change. It'll all change. Right now, we have a set pattern of working. It'll gradually change.
And students are very adaptive. They are very adaptive. So if you think about it, when they first went to the preschool, they were always at home, but as soon as within a few days, they went back to the preschool and they were happy there and they want to continue to go back. So
But in our times, we used to hate going to school. Nowadays, the kids love going to school.
Of course, because everybody has only one child and they want social interaction. So it's okay. But I think the kids are very adaptive and they don't mind going back to school even after 1 year. They will be okay, comfortable. Yes, but this has brought a lot of awareness in the parents also, what are the difficulties kids are facing in the learning aspect. I think this is an advantage when you think about virtual. So far, the parents were treating school as a babysitter for the child, where actually no learning was happening. So they think, oh, my kids are going to the school. I'm happy they are getting an education. But now parents are more involved in their kids' education. If you see the positive side of it, they know what are the kids facing difficulty, how they are learning, and how much their involvement is important. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for parents to understand their kid. Because all this time, parents were ready to pay fees to the school. I'm sending my kid to the best school in India, especially because they have a fee. Here, we have a free public education. We don't have to pay fee. But like, oh, where do I send my kid? They send in a line at the age of 2.5 to get to the best school. But is that school the right school for the child? They don't even know that. They don't know their kids, but I think this is a wonderful opportunity for students and parents to come together and find a solution for their education. And school is not only the answer. The education can happen everywhere, even at the home, any place. So I think this is gonna change. Kids gonna go back to the school in a year or 2 years. In USA, we have option. Kids can go to school or they can stay home virtually and they can study. So some parents with the essential workers, they are sending their kids to the school, like doctors and police and all. Some choose to keep them home. It depends on the family situation. So I think we have to work with the system and current situation. And our kids gonna be okay going back to school even after 2 years from now. That's okay. They're gonna go back and they're gonna be okay. Right now, the parents' involvement is very important. They need the parents' guidance. This is a wonderful opportunity. I'm seeing a lot of my parents now coming to me, oh, I didn't know my kid cannot read or write at age of 10. They're so far behind. All this time they were thinking my kid talks in English, they're a good reader and writer, but unfortunately that's not the case. So I think again, there is a positive side for Mr. COVID too here. So it's I think it's not gonna be bad after 1 year.
I somehow have a partial different opinion. See, in a country like India, where we have great diversity, and maybe I don't know the exact statistics, but maybe 70% of the schools that are in the rural part of the country, neither they have the infrastructure nor the parents have the infrastructure. A big population of this country lives in the rural belts. So we should not focus only upon the people who are privileged, who can afford to send their kids to the best of the schools, who can afford that money. Maybe 90% of the government schools are situated in the rural belts, countryside. So there has to be a partial balance. It cannot be an absolute Boolean solution that either 0 or 1. We have to find something fuzzy out of it. And I think the blended has to be really blended, because we cannot anticipate 5 years from now every young kid in India or maybe across the world to wear a mandatory spectacles to see the world properly. There are so many bad things which are associated with it, and then it is not only the education of books to the kids. There are so many cultural, co-curricular, extracurricular. There is so much that takes place in the school. Either we come up with a community model kind of an education. Until the time we achieve to it, I have all the doubts, like how this online system, how long will it benefit the society and masses at large. I'm more specific to India.
So is there a way of doing homeschooling for kids in India? because it is here in USA we have other option of homeschooling where the parents teach their kids home and so now that could be one thing.
System is not
right. So
no, but the kids he's referring to, their parents don't even know basics. They can't even teach their kids.
I understand
That's where the role of governments is very important in rural areas, in poor sections of the society. It's the government's responsibility to provide education, and they must discover a means to provide it to them, because they are putting those underprivileged people into a great disadvantage.
Yes, otherwise, yes, totally agree. They need to take responsibility and leadership. And if they don't do that, we're going to lose a class of civilization. We're going to lose a generation, a big generation. Not only in India, but global. I totally agree.
With due regards, like maybe 5 minutes back, it is unfortunate that I'm quoting it, but 5 minutes back we were discussing that the central government has denied GST part of the states and asked them to borrow money.
I agree.
And
I said it. And that's the problem. The government is not spending the money on education.
But we do not see the solution on an immediate basis and closure of colleges and schools.
How do you see solution when the government wants to promote high-cost education?
Great loss.
How will you get a solution when the government is promoting privatization and high-cost study? They are not providing similar facilities to their institutions. The government schools are underprivileged, underfunded. The quality of teachers, nobody wants to go there. So the government's responsibility, I am saying I'm holding the central government singularly responsible for ignoring education for all. These are just slogans that they've coined. They're not spending enough money onto underprivileged people.
Absolutely.
But why don't come back to my point that I said in the beginning of our great webinar, that big private companies, business companies should
in that scenario, we have
more sponsorships for these institutions.
The trouble is 70% of the institutions are of that nature, and the private companies will not want to invest into something from where they're not going to get anything.
Exactly.
For them, it's business.
Then we have a more bigger successful story, because then we have more people educated, and the company will be bigger also through that.
You need visionaries to think like that.
Thank you.
And right now we are in short supply of visionaries in India.
Mr. Dimitri, we wish to understand like how
facing the different nature of problems.
G Gulati ji, please go ahead. You were saying something.
No, I just had to say one line. No, I've said my part. Please, you continue.
Dimitri ji, we wish to understand like how a beginner startup can identify a mentor for them.
How a new startup can identify what?
Mentor. How a mentor for them. Right mentor for them.
I explained this in details. I explained this in details already before in my talk.
Agree.
I think everybody agree with that. I explained that very well in minuscule details, by the way, in the beginning of my talk already. And dear ladies and gentlemen, and dear colleagues and dear participants, I want to end my conclusion because I have another meeting soon. I'm a bit already too late in my other meeting. So I want to end with a great conclusion here after our great unique debate, which was wonderful. First of all, if we want to change the world, it started by ourselves. Second, today we all global on the same boat, according to Mr. COVID, but this is a great new opportunity for rethinking, look for new ideas, and what we need to do first of all, which is most important, global for all of us, is inspiring people, inspiring others, and help each other. This is priority today, global. Help each other to make the world, and not only ourselves, but a better place. Totally. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, India, and see all of us very soon back. Thank you very much. Yeah, namaste.
Thank you all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe I believe like we have taken more of our time than the expectation. So thank you so much for your participation. We can close this session here only. I wish like we will meet again on some other occasions, virtually or personally, physically. And looking forward for more your contribution to the society, and your valuable speech was great enough, and it would create a new impact in the society. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishabh ji. Thank you, Ravindra ji. Thank you, everyone. It was really a wonderful, wonderful exchange of thoughts and insights with everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Mishra, thank you.